The Fame Island Green
The fifth major.
and a $25 million purse.
It's the fifth elevated event in an absolute murderer's row of elevated events.
And it's time for the only preview of the Players Championship that you need. Welcome back, guys. Minnesota Left-Handers. As always, I'm Brett. This is our best bud here, Nate, and we're here to give you guys everything that you need to know about this week's tournament. But first, the tournament in front of us. Nate, do what you do best. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was won back in 2022 last year by Cam Smith. Um, I think at this point it's probably worth taking a look at that top 10 if you have that up, just because I want to run through who is not here this week but was here last year at this time. I know Cam Smith won. I want to say Anirban Lahiri took second and like Paul Casey took third or something like that.
Oh, yeah. We got a few
In
other
that top
guys.
10, who else were live guys?
Harold Varner, Dustin
Okay.
Johnson. Gosh. Well, and now what is it? It's an elevated event, PGA rules.
Yeah, crazy that many of those guys just won't be here. I can't I can't believe that. Held at TPC Sawgrass since 1982. Was Pete Dye was commissioned by Dean Beeman, who at the time was the commissioner, the Jay Monahan, because he wanted an event for the players by the players, sort of. And so Pete Dye came in to build the tournament players course at Ponte Vedra, in Ponte Vedra Beach in Florida, just outside of Jacksonville, there for the Players Championship, and it's been at this course ever since. Past winners here, some big names: Ricky Fowler, who we'd like to, I think, both sort of see return to prominence. Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas are some big names, and obviously Justin Thomas and Rory have been playing well, as of late. So it'd be cool to see those guys continue playing well. But what I thought was interesting is, and this kind of came out in the press conferences on Tuesday when Rahm spoke and Rory spoke and a few other guys did too. There hasn't been a back-to-back winner. And then on the ticker on Golf Channel and Live From, they were ran down the last 20 years of winners. And granted, Tiger has won it twice, but they weren't back-to-back. It was like 02 and like 14. So it's not a course that, players can just play well at. It's like it becomes like a home field advantage for them because it's just that tough, which I think is interesting.
Absolutely, and I don't think you can go without talking about this place right here, man. This place is huge. I didn't know this until I started doing a little bit of research on it for the video here. 77,000 square feet, dude.
My house, 1,700. Just
Yeah, they have all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's. Do you know how much it costs to play around there?
um, I'm telling you, I saw a screenshot floating around right around January time. $840 to play around a golf at TPC Sawgrass.
Yeah, 450 during the off season, $600. Are you kidding me?
It's American golf, man. We have a problem. We have an issue.
The new fourth G420 or 435 driver came out. I just got the 425 last year.
And how much does that driver cost you? Probably about $500. But even like besides that, Pebble Beach, you have to you have to stay at the resort. Like there's a small window where you can get a tee time that as a non-resort guest. But mostly you have to be a resort guest and you have to stay a minimum of 2 nights, and like starting rate's like $700. So you're spending $1,400 just on lodging. The course itself, I think, is going up to 695 in April here. And then you got caddy and whatever else. I mean, you're looking at $2,000 just to play one golf course. And we were just down in Arizona. Granted, we kind of stayed away from Scottsdale. We always have, because man, especially, and then so then you throw in Phoenix Open Week, which was 2 weeks after we got there, or maybe even the week after we got there, and then the Super Bowl. Those courses were something like $700 a round. I just don't know how that's making golf accessible to the masses.
So we're gonna start something new here, okay? And I threw Nate on the spot for this one, but I want to start a segment called Nate's No Names. So I want you to give me a guy that you think is under the radar. It doesn't have to necessarily be a no name, but a guy that is under the radar for maybe a top 3 win here, or a good chance that you think would be having getting a little bit of recognition with the win maybe here at this tournament.
Well, thanks for bailing me out there with the doesn't necessarily have to be a no-namer because, man, I started doing a little bit of research, and
It's
the
tough.
name that I'm going to give you is not deep. It's not like I'm going to pull Chris Kirk or something. He just won. Where did he just win? Oh, Puerto Rico. I'm not pulling a name like that out because the research is. You're right. It's tough to be like, okay, looking at shots gained tee to green, lot shots gained putting, um, and then just kind of that all around. Like driving and all these things. But I did take a look at what kind of player is successful at TPC Sawgrass, and I know that it is about working the angles at TPC Sawgrass. You got to have a good second shot. You have to be a good iron player. You got to be able to place your drives. Sure, of course, you can bomb the ball. Anyone can just bomb it, and okay, not anyone, not me, but anyone who's good at golf can just bomb it and take a wedge in. But if you do that, you risk poor angles and you risk thick rough. So one of the things that I think it was even Rom in Tuesday's press conference was saying, it's not the end of the world to lay back to like a 7-iron and play in from there. If that's your angle, if that's where they're putting the pins, if that's, small greens and all those pieces are in play here. So going ahead and looking at who's a good iron player and who played well here last year. And I'm landing on a guy who should have a good career going at this point, but he only seems to win at resort courses. Mayakoba, Punta Cana Corrales, the places like that. It's Victor Hovland. He played well here last year. He's trending kind of in the right direction. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do because he's an iron player. He's a ball striker as well.
For the 2022 to 2023 season, he's first in putting from 3 to 4 feet, second in rough proximity. Year to date, par or better streak, second.
I'm telling you, trending.
Trending. All right, so give us.
I tried to drink, I couldn't even do it.
Give me some trending. Oh, maybe we change it from no names to trending. Will you please clip that when you I can play that in the background. Trending.
Yes, that I'll clip that for sure.
All right, so bring us into the tee times.
Yes, tee times off of the first tee box and the 10th tee box this week. Early morning, kind of interesting tee times on Thursday off of number 10 tee. Give me just a second. Sorry, I'm thinking number yes, really off of number 10 tee.
Yep. 7:30 to 8 o'clock is going to be your big time there.
Yeah, they're getting the big names off early. That 7:34 tee time's got Tony Finau, Tom Kim, Patrick Cantlay. 7:45, Colin Morikawa, Adam Scott, Ricky Fowler. And how about this one? Everyone who's been number one in like the last couple of years: John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy. Just a who's who there. That's gonna be a fun one to follow.
It's weird that they got them going that early, just because with people getting off work and stuff like that, they're really starting them early. You'd think you'd get them off a little bit later so people could actually watch them.
They do.
I mean, I'm gonna be at work watching it, so
they will flip it. So like in the on Friday there'll be afternoon tee times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be there. But here's something I noticed as I was looking at this. And and there's got to be a reason for this. There's a reason that you're making featured groups where you have Rahm and Scotty and Rory. But go down to the 12:01 tee time there off of hole 10. Kramer Hickok, you know, does that guy ever get a chance to play with Rahm, or is he always destined to play with Lee Hodges and Will Gordon? You know what I mean? Just a bunch of who, right? We're looking at. I wanna see some big names play with the lesser names. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, maybe learn him a few things, huh?
Yeah, for sure. The other tee time that stuck out to me was off of the first tee box right in the 12:45 range. Kurt Kitayama, who I would like to get back to. I have a little bit on him in just a moment. Will Zalatoris, Xander Schauffele, 12:56 then. Max Homa, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. If you watched the match, if you watched the latest No Lane Up, not the latest, but they had a video where they played around. It was I think Solly and Neil played with Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth. Max Homa's like third wheeling in that group, and then you got the episode from what's that show, Full Swing,
Mm-hmm.
where they're just like a married couple, Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth, and here's Max Homa just third wheeling over there. So that should be a fun round to watch as well. So, if you'll indulge me for just a second, I want to talk about Kurt Kitayama for a second and these elevated events. What I think is great is number one, the elevated events. I think that
What?
what's happening here is a good deal. But it's not always just gonna have to be, Scotty and Rory and Justin Thomas and John Rahm. It's cool to see that a guy like Kurt Kitayama, who wasn't a big name, he's had a long road to the tour, can break through and win an elevated event. It doesn't, like, we want to see the big names play. That's why you pay the money. That's why you go. But it's cool to see some of those no-namers sometimes. So good for Kurt Kitayama. I hope he, in some way, maybe, can keep this rolling a little bit.
So before we jump into like the in-depth power rankings, some of the Vegas odds and notable guys out there, let's just burn through the course and some of its features right now for those that are just looking for, obviously you got the hole 17, the island green. But what's interesting about this course is it's Pete Dye esque, if you will. Deep bunkers, narrow fairways, lots of water. It's in Florida. It's a par 72, 7,189 yards. Double dog legs on the par fives, the hard hole 18. Tell us a little bit more about the course.
Right, you need to be a guy who can hit your irons. And that is why, if I'm going to give you a trending player, I should give you a guy who I think, kind of an on-the-radar player who I think may have a chance. And that, for me, is Justin Thomas as well. I think Justin Thomas has a chance because he's just a ball striker's ball striker, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it. He's not having a great year. He's not having a Rahm, Scotty, Rory type year. But we know what he's capable of. He can be. He can have a good year. And I don't see why this couldn't be the place that he breaks through. He is, after all, sort of the de facto defending champion, the year before Cam Smith champion, if that makes sense. 18th hole. Pete Dye, sort of an identifying mark of a Pete Dye course, is a hard 18th hole. And that holds true here because it is the second hardest closing hole of anywhere on tour all season long. Only behind the 18th hole at the Scottish Open, which was at the Renaissance Club last year. And I don't know if that's a rotating deal or if that's always at that course, the way that the Players is always at Sawgrass. But anyway, last year it played the second hardest of any 18th hole on tour, which I think is notable and very fitting for, a Pete Dye course.
So in closing out the course here with just the quick weather, I checked it yesterday. I just pulled it up again just to double check it. Thursday, 72 and cloudy. Friday, we're going to get some scattered thunderstorms. Hopefully it doesn't affect the game too much with the high 82. Saturday, cloudy, 71, and Sunday, cloudy with a high 80. So let's jump into the power rankings, man. What do you got for the top four? I disagree with this. So what are your guesses top four?
Well, I mean, I kind of gave my Doimers power ranking, which doesn't hold much water. We know how my Prize Picks have gone if you've listened to past episodes. But I think it's Justin Thomas is going to be the guy to have a chance. But that is not what the odds makers say. If I recall, like the top 4 in the power ranking all had the same odds, didn't they?
Pretty dang close. You got number 1 Rory at 850, Scotty number 2 at 1,000, Homa number 3 at 1,900, and then Rom number 4. So the power rankings of Vegas odds I got from 2 different websites. Rom 850 again, who I would have thought would have been higher than 4, but I didn't pick him as number 1 just because it seems like he's running out of steam a little bit. And I don't know if that's right for me to say. If I were a betting guy, I'd probably put the easy money on Rory or Scotty, and just a couple of notables. Your JT at plus 1,900 is ninth in the power rankings, and Zalatoris 17 at 3,200 for the money.
Can I ask? I'm gonna poke a little fun at myself, I guess. My no-namer, my Nate's no-name.
Oh, you're trending.
What are his odds?
He's at 8, and I didn't pull his odds because I didn't know that's the guy you were gonna pick, so I don't have his odds in front of me here, but yeah.
But I mean, he's still top 10. Like he's not really. It's not like I picked Matthias Schwab. I didn't go too deep. Will Gordon. I still picked Victor Hovland, which I know kind of breaks the rules, but. I really do, man. I think he's got a chance to get away from that I can only win at resort courses name, I suppose. He's sort of typecast as that guy, so nice to break away from that a little bit.
All right, let's finish up this podcast with some of the new developments here. We got the whole PGA Tour overhauling the rules. James Hahn talking about giving his opinion. This guy and these elevated events with no cuts. It's starting to sound a little bit like Live.
It is. I'm also cutting that up, by the way. That was fantastic there. But I'm also losing interest in James Hahn. I think James Hahn just wants this 15 minutes of fame because he knows
it worked.
That he's currently ranked 300th in the world, and he believes that the PGA Tour's new structure will funnel money to the most popular figures on tour while leaving the middle players in the dust. He said, "I use the word popular instead of best because granted that Tiger is one of the best players to ever have played this game. He just won the PIP money 2 years running without really playing much golf, without being ranked in the top 1,000, and without keeping his card." And we do know that those PIP rankings are kind of what qualify you for the elevated events. Or that's at least a factor in what qualifies you for the elevated events. Which I also feel like I should point out that, remember we talked earlier in a previous episode that the guys who are all qualified for these elevated events, they could miss one, and Rory skipped the first one, and that was kind of an interesting talking point. He skipped like Tournament of Champions or whatever. If Tiger is in all of them, why isn't he having to play all of them? There's got to be something I'm missing, right?
I have no idea.
There's got to be.
It's
like, doesn't that seem odd? Like,
he gave the PGA Tour a face. Maybe they owe him. It's
they're just giving him a pass.
Print, I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like a pretty stupid argument, but it kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit.
I mean, Tiger deserves it. I mean, for what he's done for the game, and being young, watching him play, and now all of a sudden the money that these guys are making. But I mean, you could say the same thing for the NFL and the guys that did, the guys that what they were making compared to what the guys are making now. But I don't know.
Right.
I honestly don't know. But like I say, it's starting to sound a lot like the Live, and
yeah, limited fields, no cuts.
Yeah, it's weird.
So, worth noting as we lead up to the Masters here, upcoming events for the next 3 weeks. You've got on tour, you've got Valspar, and then next week we have Lives playing in Tucson, and then Punta Cana, and there's no Live event. The week after that is the Valero Texas Open, which is sort of the tune-up for the Masters, and Live is in Orlando that week. So in the next 3 weeks, we have 3 PGA Tour events, 2 Live events, and then the Masters is whatever it is, the second week of April or something. Uh,
So yeah,
Interesting.
no elevated events up till Masters.
Right. Yeah, this is it. This is kind of the end. So what is that going to mean? Are we going to not see Rory said that he's probably going to play one of the three because he doesn't like taking that many weeks off, especially leading up to a major. But are we not going to see some of these guys for a while? I mean, are these next 3 weeks going to be pretty down?
It's gonna be like this. We're gonna go watch Tony Finau win 3M Open. And I don't know if you've seen the Full Swing episode of Tony Finau, where he's like, they're all like, oh, all the naysayers like, oh, he after his first win, they're like, oh, he doesn't, he's not playing against hard enough people, a weak field, and then he goes back and wins the next week at Rocket Mortgage, and he won back to back and didn't play, all the naysayers are saying he didn't play a good field. The guy, when he was winning, it's safe to say, great for him. He won. It's still tough to do, but he wasn't playing at an elevated event, and I'd love to see that guy really put a stake in it by winning one of these elevated events this year.
Yeah, kind of solidify himself. He's won like 5 times now. Like he's got a legitimate career, like a career that a lot of people, strive for. He should be pretty proud of what he's done, but I think you're right. It's time for an elevated win. I do have a question for you related to this topic. There was a full episode on Tony Finau. There were a couple clips from the 3M Open. How sour are you that you didn't make the cut, that we didn't see Brett Relander's sighting in Live Full Swing? You did have an experience with him.
I did. We were in between, what was that, 1 and 10, right?
Yeah, like the walk over to 10,
Yeah. And I seen him waving to him. He kind of just ignored me, and I said, hey, we got any advice for us bogey golfers? And he just looked at me, looked away, and kept on walking.
I didn't see any big Netflix bigwigs following in that moment, so maybe, or the recording was there and they just thought, yeah, that doesn't make the cut. Who knows? Did you see? I think I had something else. It was the pathway back to Live that I wanted to chat about. Is that going to be a possibility? So think on that for a second while I bring this one up. Latest news came out today, actually. Tiger Woods' latest ex-girlfriend now. I didn't know she was an ex-girlfriend. Is like suing him or something to negate a NDA that was signed due to sexual assault allegations.
Trying to get that money. It's Women's Month, ain't it?
Can Tiger get out of his own way? Like,
I think it's tough when you get that much money.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we know nothing about the allegations. We know very little. He's kept that part of his life pretty private. But even if there's nothing, like legally is one thing, but to like even what he did when he was married and he had Perkins waitresses and stuff, wrong, infidelity, all these things. Nothing. Everything was consent. Like, there's none of that stuff. He just gets himself in like these slimy situations, whether it's nothing there with this assault because we don't know yet, and people are just after his money. I don't know. It's just, dude, maybe it's just time to wrap up the whole dating scene. I don't know. It's just a thought.
It's crazy what money will do. I don't know, and I don't know. The guy has a track record of doing the wrong thing though, so. I mean,
right down to, he got that DUI for, I think it was like Ambien. Like, he wasn't drinking, but it was driving under the influence of like Ambien or some sleeping med. And then we still don't know the details behind the big crash that has left us where he is now. As far as his leg and whatever else. Nobody actually knows those details yet. Yeah. And I don't know that we ever will.
And we probably won't. But
anyway, quick back to pathway back to the PGA Tour. Guys like Taylor Gooch are almost out of contract. Taylor Gooch had a 2-year contract with Liv. As they pull bigger names with a field of 48, he's just gonna kind of bump his way off the roster, right? So if he bumps his way off that roster and he loses his contract with Liv, or that just runs out, he's gonna be stuck on like the Sunshine Tour in South Africa, or something. I don't know, where there's no money, he's just sort of off into oblivion. He may want to come back to the PGA Tour. As of right now, Jay Monahan this week and Adam Scott, who's on the player advisory committee, the PAC, both said our position hasn't changed. Suspended is suspended. It is what it is. Do you see that changing in the coming years?
Of course. I mean, it has to, and it's evolved so quickly. I think anyone to guess anything wouldn't be incorrect. I think anything is possible with this whole Live PGA battle thing going on right now. Okay, so maybe Taylor Gooch. What if Cam Smith decides, you know what? Hey, I'm gonna head back. I'm gonna try and get back in the PGA Tour. Do you think a big name like that's not gonna be let back into the PGA Tour? Or are they going to try and make an exception or something? You know what I mean? We just don't know. It's too soon. And so much has developed in just this last year. And to watch the Full Swing podcast to see what that was all about, and then watch it all develop, and then now where we're at now. I mean, where are we going to be in 6 months? You know, I think a big deciding factor where we're going to be at is going to be this major, the Masters coming up. If Dustin Johnson, Phil wins it. Dustin Johnson gets a top
Let's not
3.
get ahead of ourselves.
Whoa. Come on now. Tiger Woods won it in 2019.
Sure. But he's also 6 years younger than Phil.
Cameron Smith win it. You know, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
My dream, as much as I don't really like the guy, would have Phil Mickelson win the Masters. Would be just so epic. So epic.
Well, and I can see a scenario where Dustin Johnson plays well there. He's won it. I mean, he won the COVID one where they played in the fall. So count it or don't, asterisk or not, I don't know. But he does have a win. He's got a green jacket. Cameron Smith is fully capable of winning all the majors. It would be interesting to see, you know, what if we have a top 10 that looks like this tournament did last year, where you have like 6 or 7 live guys. You know, that I could see your point there, where that would sort of change things. That would be kind of a tipping point. Maybe they don't care about Henny Duplessis and Brendan Steele and Taylor Gooch, but like the Brooks Koepka, Bryson, those names I could see working their way back. I don't know what that path will look like. Are they going to have to go through Q School? Are they going to have to play on Korn Ferry and earn their way on? Or are they going to have to sit out a year with a fine because they chased the money? But here was kind of the other argument, and I'm going to turn this slightly political and serious for a second. In this student debt crisis that we have, and we're gonna wipe out student loans, right? Well, I've paid all mine off. Should I be mad that somebody else is gonna get theirs wiped out? If I'm a PGA Tour guy, should I be mad that you left and came back? Because ultimately, it's better for everyone if you're with the PGA Tour, because then we have the best players in the world playing together. You know, and it's better for everyone, you know, to not have student loans, but you should pay it off. You took out the loan. You know, where do we land on it?
Yeah, it's we're effed, man. Paid off my student loans, paid off my wife's a couple years ago. We're just effed. That's just how it is.
Yeah. But should we be mad if other people don't have to pay theirs off?
That's how society is. It's changing and evolving and all that stuff. So you can't, you know, you could say so many things over throughout history. I'm mad that I couldn't get alcohol when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
I can't,
because other people could. Generations before us could.
Right, exactly. It's just you can't live in the past. Can't dwell on the past. You can only move forward, and that's called progress. So if these guys want to progress and make the game of golf better than it ever has been before, it would be a good idea to coexist and make things work, because let's just like the Masters have said, we want the best golf to provide to our viewers, for us to provide to our viewers. We won't have that if we don't have the best golfers in the world here. And Cam Smith, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson. I mean, these are golfers people like to watch golf and want to see golf. So,
right. So I don't know. I think we're gonna revisit this conversation a lot over the next year on this podcast, just because of how things are gonna develop. So I don't know, man. That seems like a good place to wrap.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Next week, what tournament we doing next week?
Valspar. But we could also
Let's do a live episode next week, eh?
Yeah, or like which one are you watching episode, like we did with Honda Mayakoba, where we definitely bring in two. And you know me, it's an Arizona course. You know which way I'm leaning. I love it. I love the desert golf.
All right, well, we'll just keep it a surprise. We'll see you guys next week. Hit them straight, hit them far, right?
Sounds good. See you next week.